Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be covering part 5 to the extremely popular, probably the most popular series of the year video, which is titled, Wife Thought I'd Agreed to an Open Marriage, Instead I Took Her Car, Credit Cards, and Kicked Her Out. And like I said guys, this is the most popular series of the year, and you guys have been great with your response, commenting, giving this guy some encouragement, hope, and all that. And as you guys requested, he's done his final update for now. This final update is unbelievably long, 30 pages long. Therefore, I'm splitting this up into 2 parts. Part 5 today, part 6 tomorrow. And this one's probably going to run at least half an hour, if not more. So I'm going to cut to the chase and jump right into it. You all know what happened. I don't need to go over it again. He had the wife from hell, true evil, kicked her out. And the last episode, part 3 and 4, was him just talking about things that happened after he kicked her out, from December up until now. This part is all about all the things he found out about her that have been going on back to when she was in high school, college, her job, things he speculated on, and things that were confirmed about her to find out truly the level of evil she was. And this is also a way for this guy to really cope and move on. So, getting right into it, or picking up where things left off the other day, says here, hi SSM. This will be my final update. I'd like to thank all those in the SSM community for their support, and of course SSM for his always masterful rendition of my story and his commentary. I stopped counting the number of smacks I received, but I deserve them all. I wrote this because 5 months after Cheryl came to me with her lover Bob's genius idea for her to tell me about opening the marriage, things about my relationship with Cheryl are still bothering me. Well, bro, this helps you move on? Great. And I'm glad to help, as are the guys watching this. By the way, guys, you can tell my voice. I'm getting over a cold here. A couple days ago, I was dying. I thought it was allergies. I actually got sick, which I can't remember the last time I ever got sick. I didn't even get sick during COVID. But I got sick now, so I'm getting over it. But I want to get the video out. Just bear with my less than perfect voice here. He says that one human could treat another human, let alone one spouse, the way she treated me is inconceivable. But how she treated me is on her. What bothered me is how I was duped for years by her. I had many red flags, as you'll see in this post, but there weren't many of them. Much of her day-to-day behavior, I believe, was the same as any loving spouses would be. Working late, drinks with the girls, after work or study group for an hour or so seemed like normal behavior for any normal woman. Well, as it turns out in the stories I do, they're not so normal. Or shall I say they're normal, but these stories show usually there's other BS going on. These were very occasional occurrences. She wasn't off every night and gone all weekend. She didn't stay out all night. She didn't come home at 3 o'clock in the morning when she should have been home at 8. She didn't attend girls' nights at the club or go to any girls-only vacations. She didn't come home drunk or disheveled. She didn't attend evening events that I wasn't welcome to attend. Things always seemed normal to me. And our home life was all I desired. Good SCX, good communication, very few serious arguments. So she was a master. She was a master covering her tracks. She is a fucking sociopath. She can function, make everything look cool, but other shit's going on behind the scenes. He says, so what did I miss? This past week, I've had some time to think about all of this. I wrote this because I thought it might be useful to others to hear it and, with SSM's commentary, learn how to avoid my mistakes. But I also thought that by writing it down, 4 to 5 months away from December 12th, I could figure out my part in this. What ended up happening was that I found I needed to know as much as I could about her behavior throughout the span of the time that I knew her. There are some things that I will never know, but I figured that I could know more than I did. How did I find out, or how to find out? It certainly wasn't going to be from Cheryl directly or any polygraph test that she would take and share with me. It is now early May 2023. I now know about her cheating on me when she was an undergraduate. I now know about her cheating in graduate school. What about the time we were living together and then married while she was working from 2016 to 2022? Cheryl told me in text and voice messages that returning to campus triggered her old feelings of insecurity and inferiority, so she latched onto Bob's validation of her intelligence. What a load of bullshit. She thought he was smart and his attention would prove to her that she belonged in graduate school. Her argument was that it was just a few guys as an undergraduate, but although that that was bad because she loved only me. We weren't married yet or even living together. She agreed to be in an exclusive monogamous relationship with me because that's what I wanted. She loved me and didn't want to lose me. She was young, immature, and stupid, but was sowing her wild oats. These were things that she was saying to him, but believe me, her behavior demonstrated she is incapable of love. In graduate school, she wasn't sleeping with lots of guys, or even a few guys, just one huge mistake. Oh, sure, just a mistake. She needed Bob's validation. He seemed interested in her ideas, and they spent time talking about books, authors, projects, and her class and teachers. Bob's a chatter-tired room. Believe me, I can't picture Bob talking about books and authors and things like that. Who are you fucking kidding, lady? He told her that she had an interesting mind. He liked the way it worked. All this gave her a feeling of self-worth. She told me that this is what she and her therapist were working through. Well, either her therapist is just telling her everything she wants to know, or her therapist is a fucking moron, not realizing she's got a sociopath in her office. She also pointed out that she'd been completely faithful the whole time that she was working at her job, the bulk of our time together. Yeah, I never bought that. And you're going to see, guys, that was another lie. Just the one slip-up, Bob. The very few, and she reiterated that they were very few, she had exaggerated to Bob in her email. College guys that she hooked up with didn't count because we weren't married or even living together yet. Oh, it didn't count because you weren't married. You were in an exclusive relationship, but they don't count because you weren't married. Oh, okay, that's her logic. She is something. She knows now why that happened, and it would never happen again. Sure. She loved me and would work every day on gaining my forgiveness. I just need to forgive her for her one-time stupid, immature, insane affair. The best thing for both of us is to get back together and work on our marriage. She knew deep down that's what I really wanted and needed too. What a load of crap. And he says, giant letters, all BS. And yes, it is all BS. But was she really faithful to me during the years that she was working? Was Bob really her first affair after we married? I had my suspicions about her fidelity then and certainly have them now. But how to find out? She didn't take a polygraph test as she promised. Well, of course not. Or if she did take it, she wouldn't share the results with me. I have not contacted her since I threw her out and was not about to ask her or her father about the polygraph test. Do not contact her, dude, ever. But the suspicions and how to find out sure gnawed at me. Could I have missed that she was cheating all those years, just like I missed what she did in college with Bob? Was I deluded dope? Was I a deluded dope? Remember this again. Was I deluded dupe? Okay, he wrote this wrong. Fuck it. I'm skipping this sentence. I figured out there was a way to find out about Cheryl during those years at work, but that's for later. First, here's why I became suspicious of her during the time she was working. The first Christmas after Cheryl got her job after graduating, I went with Cheryl to her office Christmas party. She introduced me to her coworker, but her boss, Jim, wasn't there. Cheryl was close to a coworker named Claire, whom I met at the party for the first time. Claire was a bit tipsy, actually somewhat drunk, but Cheryl left me with her to go talk to some women about a project they were all involved with. This chick he's talking about now, Claire, is going to be an invaluable resource to what was really going on. I asked Claire where Jim was. I'd like to meet him. With a big smile and a glint in her eyes, she told me that Jim was no longer allowed out by his wife. His wife had discovered he was involved with a coworker, a subordinate of his. To save his marriage, he was now under lock and key. No late nights, no more drinks after work with coworkers. He even wasn't allowed to have drinks with them. No parties of any kind. Jim was on a short leash. Gee, and I wonder what coworker caused the problem. Or employee caused the problem. I asked her if she knew who the subordinate he cheated with was and if she still worked there. She said, "Oh yeah, I know who she is." The other woman is a good friend and had told her all about the affair in detail, and she was still at the same job. The woman was also married but was devastated when Jim ended it with her. Claire looked at me in the eye, glanced in the direction where my wife was standing, and her smile got even bigger. Claire said the woman was right there in the room with us, but she wouldn't tell me who the woman was. I might know her. I told her I didn't know anyone in the room but my wife. She continued to smile, glanced again at my wife's direction, looked me in the eye, raised her eyebrows, and shrugged. I asked if she was saying the other one was my wife. Claire replied, I'm not saying anything. Sounds like she's playing fucking games with you. That's what she's doing. My wife must have seen us look at her, so she looked back at us. Her gaze went to Claire, to Claire, me, and back to Claire. She did not look very happy. Claire waved to her and winked. Cheryl walked over and asked what we were talking about. Claire said I was asking about Jim. Cheryl went pale. Glared at Claire, who kept smiling, but just said, who cares about Jim? What an uninteresting man. Now, this is obviously, like, guys, if you obviously know, this is in the past here. A few minutes later, Cheryl told me that she needed to use the bathroom. She walked over to Claire, grabbed her by the upper arm, and marched Claire out of the room. My wife seemed angry, but Claire was still smiling. Oh, the frenemies at work, huh? They returned together about 10 minutes later. My wife was still not happy, but Claire was still smiling. Cheryl did not leave my side for the rest of the party. On the way home from the Christmas party, I asked Cheryl about Jim. She said he's just a boss, not very interesting. Well, who cares if he's interesting? Just asking about the boss. I asked if he was still helping to get her promotion. Her promotion, huh? Gee, I wonder how she's going to get her promotion. She said he wasn't doing anything for her. I told her Claire had some interesting things to say about him. She looked at me and asked what Claire had told me. I relayed what Claire said without telling Cheryl that Claire never told me who the other woman was. Dude, how the hell did you not see it? She asked if Claire was anything more. Instead of answering her, I asked if she knew who the woman was. She said Claire is a gossip, drama queen, and troublemaker. She wanted to be at the center of things, part of the drama, creator of more drama, so she made things up that sounded like she's in the know. Did Cheryl know who the woman was? She said she had her suspicions, but wasn't sure. She went on, whomever Claire claimed was the other woman was a lie. Just an attempt to create more drama and make everyone's life more difficult. Who did Claire say the other woman was? Instead of answering her, I asked, was Claire the other woman? Cheryl started to laugh and said, I'm sure Claire would have liked that, but Jim wouldn't touch Claire with a 10-foot pole. Ouch. Office frenemies. Well, actually, office enemies. I thought, but didn't say, how would you know that? Instead, I asked, who do you suspect then? Cheryl thought for a while and asked if I remember the tall woman in the red scarf with light brown hair. I said yes. Cheryl said the woman works in HR, and Cheryl thinks that she might be the other woman because Jim and the HR women were always in meetings alone together. I told her Claire said it was one of Jim's employees. Agitated, she said Claire was just causing trouble. Good freaking Lord. Dude, it was right there in front of you. But I know you didn't want to believe it or hear it. I then asked why she and Claire were in the bathroom so long. She said that Claire was spreading malicious gossip about a female coworker, but denied that it was her. Claire to the other coworker. The coworker came to Cheryl. People thought that she and Claire were friends, and asked Cheryl to talk to Claire to get her to stop. Claire couldn't deny to Cheryl that she was the source of the gossip and the coworker, so they had a conversation in the bathroom about how much damage Claire was doing to this poor woman, and asked Claire to stop. But that was Claire, always gossiping, always making stuff up about other people, always making trouble. She lives for drama. Really, lady? She then asked what I think about the rest of her coworkers. That ended the conversation about Claire, Jim, and his lover. I didn't follow up about her boss. She rarely talked about him anymore, and she started to come home directly after work. No more working late or drinking with the girls. Yeah, because the boss obviously is sticking around, and obviously she could tell you were a little suspicious. A couple weeks later, I asked her about how her buddy Claire was doing. She responded that Claire was a waste of human being and they were never very close. Yeah, I got that impression. Yes, I do actually believe that Claire probably is a drama queen and gossip and all that, because instead of just telling you what she do, she's playing her little games there. But after that, I left after that. I left it after that. I trusted my wife and thought she was right. Claire was too enthusiastic when she talked about Jim and his affair. I thought she just wanted to make trouble by implying the other woman was Cheryl. I figured that she would do the same thing to any husband at the party, imply it was his wife just to cause trouble. Claire got off on making people uncomfortable and suspicious. Well, I actually believe she's that type of person, and there are people like that out there, usually women. But she actually was referring to your wife. I've been thinking about Claire not taking the polygraph. My mind went back to the office Christmas party and what Claire had told me about Jim and his affair. Her failure to take the polygraph or not share the results with me probably should have been enough to conclude Cheryl had cheated on me at work. That she always cheated on me, but I couldn't stop trying to find a way for sure. Last Tuesday, I figured out a way that might lead to some answers about whether she was cheating when she was working. At the Christmas party, her friend Claire said Jim's lover had confided in her about the affair. It wouldn't be hard to find Claire if she was still working at Cheryl's former company. Hey, you got nothing to lose at this point. If I could find her, I'd call her and ask her about Jim's lover. I could also try to track down Jim, call him, and ask him point blank, "Did you F my wife?" But he had no reason to be honest and lots of reasons not to be. I didn't remember Claire's last name, but the company had an online employee directory with pictures. So I got her full name, called her company, and asked for her. When they put me through to Claire, I told her who I was, and I asked if she remembered me. She did. Of course she did. I told Sharon and I were divorcing because of her infidelity. Would she be willing to tell me now who Jim had the affair with? She paused and asked if I would promise not to have her testify at the divorce. I said the divorce was amicable so far. But regardless, I didn't need her testimony. I had more than enough proof of her infidelity. I just wanted to know if it was Cheryl. She laughed and told me she couldn't talk at her desk, but could leave for lunch now and would call me from her cell phone. She took my number and called me back a few minutes later. She said she thought I knew Jim's lover was Cheryl at the Christmas party and was surprised I never did anything. Yeah, you were dropping hints, but you didn't directly say. Now, it was as obvious as can be, but no guy wants to believe that about his wife. She did everything to let me know the other woman was Cheryl, except show me pictures or tell me outright. Why didn't you just tell him outright? Because she likes to play games. I told her Cheryl convinced me you were a troublemaker and malicious gossip, making up lies to create drama. I believe that you implied it was Cheryl, but that you would have implied to any husband that it was his wife. I didn't believe you. I guess I didn't want to believe you. She said that she and Cheryl both were hot for Jim, as were some of the others at work. Cheryl went into full combat mode and won his, you-know-what, whatever it was, she won. Claire said that she thought Cheryl just wanted him more. That was okay. She was seeing someone else at the time whom she liked. Cheryl proceeded to regale Claire at successive lunches with descriptions of their lovemaking. Claire admitted that she liked hearing Cheryl describe their boss's anatomy and their hotel escapades. Cheryl's accounts were very detailed and sexy, and Cheryl enjoyed talking about her sex life. There you go. Not that we couldn't figure this out before, but in the previous stories, we were speculating, was she doing her boss from the former job? And of course she was. She's a serial cheater and just an awful human being. Of course, this is the gal who denied ever cheating, and it was the one-time mistake with that guy, Bob. We're just getting started, guys. There's way more to this. Cheryl would also talk about her college days. Oh boy, the good old college days. Said that dorm life was always exciting. She said she was always going through a pack of condoms every week or two. She was probably spending more on condoms than on food. Good freaking Lord. I don't know how big packs of condoms they were. She's probably at CVS every freaking week, like, oh, here she comes again. Give her the condoms. She said she used to walk into the shower in just panties. This wasn't unusual in the dorm. Some people, men and women, walked around nude all the time. Okay. They went through a period at school where pantsing became a craze. Someone would pull down your pants while another person took your picture. And I would beat the shit out of somebody for doing that to me. Once she was walking to the shower in her panties, and two girls came up and pulled down her panties. The guy they were with took her picture. She said she yelled, wait, you can't use that. She said the girls and guy just snickered and started to run away. Cheryl then said I wasn't smiling and kicked her panties to the side of her foot. She then put on her biggest smile and said, okay, I'm ready now. The girls and the guy were stunned, and then everyone in the hallway started laughing. He took a bunch of pictures, and Claire asked the guy to send her copies to her boyfriend. Claire said she and Cheryl couldn't stop laughing. She's a fucking child. Claire asked who her boyfriend was at the time. Claire said she doesn't remember exactly the name. Cheryl gave her a Ray, Roy, or Rob. Maybe. Cheryl said she'd known this guy since elementary school. He was a neighbor, and they were always inseparable. They began to hook up when she was 14 years old, never stopped. He was her boyfriend in high school and college, and really still was. I told Claire his name was Roy. She asked if I knew him, and I told her I knew about him. Remember the last episode? Roy was the neighbor she grew up with, and the family thought he was gay, but actually, and I called bullshit on that. Turns out they've been having a fling forever. He was just another Chatter Tyrone type that for some reason the father thought he was gay, and but nope. Now we're going to find out about Roy. Cheryl said that Roy was always there for her. Define always there for her. Cheryl told Claire that she was asked out by a kid in her class when she was 12 or 13. She didn't care about the kid, but they would go to a movie and she could pick the movie. She thought a free movie that she wanted to see. Why not? She told her parents that the kid asked her out and they had to talk with her. She would soon be dating and going to parties. Here were the rules. In by 10 o'clock at night, no exceptions. Call them if she didn't feel safe. No drugs or alcohol. Call them if there were drugs or alcohol at the party. They'd come and get her immediately. And, of course, no sex. Her father laughed when he said that. Of course, she wouldn't be having sex. Good Lord, does she have her parents fooled. As Cheryl got older, curfew became more and more of a problem. And she was tired of the questions about where she'd been, who she was with, on and on. Her parents wouldn't budge on the curfew. It was more trouble than it was worth when she tested them on it. Tested them, huh? Her parents love Roy. By the way, guys, as you obviously know, this is the stories he's getting from her former co-worker, Claire. Her parents love Roy. They'd known him since he was 5 or 6 years old. They saw him as Cheryl's buddy and protector, but they were wary of all boys. How to get them to trust Roy? Cheryl came home from school one day when she was 15, waited for her father to come home from work, and sat her parents down. She told them Roy had told her that he was gay. She was upset and didn't know what to do about it. Her mother asked her what she thought she should do. Cheryl said, "I don't know, maybe tell his parents." Her parents told her that she didn't need to do anything. It was his job to tell his parents or anything else. Roy's your best friend. There's nothing Cheryl needed to do. What a diabolical little snake. Tell her parents that her guy friend here is gay. They'll never suspect him. And meanwhile, she's hooking up with him left and right and doing drugs and drinking and all that. This, of course, was an act. There were gay kids at school. No one cared. Roy wasn't gay, and he knew that Cheryl would tell her parents that he was. He knew why, and he was fine with that. They all had a big laugh about her parents telling her not to be concerned about Roy being gay. And it worked. If she said she was going somewhere with Roy, her parents didn't worry and didn't ask any questions. When Roy started driving and picked her up to go to a party or just to hang out, he'd ask her parents if it was okay to keep Cheryl out a little past curfew. He'd be with her at all times to keep her out of trouble. Her parents said sure, they trusted him. The curfew ended up withering away. What Cheryl and Roy were doing was getting high and having sex. Anywhere and everywhere. As they entered high school, first Roy and then Cheryl started sleeping around. They had some arguments about that, but it turned out it was both what they wanted. Claire asked Cheryl if she would keep in touch with Roy, and she said she always kept in touch with Roy. He will always be her boyfriend. So this guy obviously was her first. She pair bonded with him. You know, most girls, they're never going to forget. In fact, no, let me rephrase that. I never met a woman that ever forgot their first guy. First guy they were in love with, first guy they slept with. Usually that was together. And this was her guy forever, who she'd hook up with and go back to. And when she was with this guy, telling the story. Claire asked, he's your boyfriend now, even though you're married. Cheryl replied, always. Claire said the discussion took place before the Christmas party when Cheryl was still open with Claire about everything. So she tells her work friend everything about her life and story, and then her work friend turns against her. Shocker. What's the Al Bundy saying? Don't try to understand women. Women understand women, and they hate each other. Continues, he says, Claire wanted to keep Cheryl's stories coming. Claire asked if she ever had sex with more than one person. Cheryl told her she never hooked up with another woman, had no desire to do that. Except Claire, she didn't have any women as friends. Big surprise that Cheryl has no female friends. Imagine that, except for her co-worker Claire, who isn't really her friend. But she had hooked up with 2 guys at once a few times. That was exhausting, but lots of fun. She also hooked up with 3 guys once. At the end of her senior year, she was effing Roy in his dorm room. 2 of his friends came in, and Roy told her he'd like to share Cheryl with them. Cheryl knew it was a setup, but she was ready and willing. She just wasn't sure who would put what where. She told Claire that she figured it out. Cheryl said she loved every minute. Mind you, in college, she was with the guy telling the story here. What a piece of garbage. 3 dudes at once. Remember, this is her. Remember, she denied that this all happened. The email he found her sending to Bob saying she did all this stuff, and then she said it didn't happen. Well, it turns out she did. Cheryl had told Bob in her email that it was a random guy she met and initiated the 3-way with right before graduation. Cheryl evidently didn't want Bob to ask about Roy. I wonder why. Cheryl had lots of college stories, all very entertaining, and enjoyed telling Claire about them. Claire asked how and when she met me. Cheryl told her that we met in the sophomore year, we hit it off, and saw a lot of each other. Where was I when Cheryl was hooking up with all these guys? Cheryl said she was serious about me, but never agreed to be exclusive with me in college. Well, that's bullshit. But she realized I would get jealous, so she hid her hookups from me and my school buddies. She said it was good practice for later and laughed. I was living at home, Cheryl said, so I didn't participate in the dorm life. I was a serious student, so spent time on my studies. She had the freedom she wanted. If she couldn't have had the freedom because of me, at that point, she would have definitely stopped seeing me. Remember, this guy was living at home, and she was in the dorms, and she was off doing what she was doing, and he had no idea. And you all recall in the beginning of the story, I said I was giving him smacks because he got into a relationship with her too soon, like a month, and all the other things, And this guy made mistakes that any of us could have made back then or now, but we share these stories to learn. I asked Claire if Cheryl ever talked about me. Claire said she didn't, except things like Sam and I went to this restaurant or that movie, or that you were pestering her about something or other. But Claire said that she didn't ask about Cheryl about me. Wouldn't it destroy your marriage if Sam found out that she was screwing Jim? Claire stopped, told me she was sorry, but that I would find Cheryl's answer hurtful. I told her to go ahead. Now listen to this. Cheryl said that she was taking a chance by being with Jim, but not a big one. She told Claire that I loved her, Cheryl, so much that even if I had proof and not just suspicions, that I would forgive her. I'd be weepy and sad, and she'd have to spend weeks explaining, making promises, and apologizing, all of which would be a pain in the ass. But eventually, I'd forgive her. This is her interpretation of this guy. Our marriage would go on as it was. Cheryl said I was terrified of losing her, so I would eventually forgive her anything that she did. Besides, she was very careful. She'd been cheating on me for years. I hadn't found out yet and never would. That's her attitude. That's why she was convinced she'd go with the open marriage. Bro, I'm so sorry to hear this shit, but you know what? I think for you to move on, you had to hear all this shit. And put it down on paper. Claire asked Cheryl if I was worth it. All this sneaking around. Cheryl laughed and said, "Oh yeah, I'm having a great time. Think of Sam." Sam's the guy telling the story. And Jim as being 2 boxes that I keep separated. Sam is like my day job. You have to show up, put in the effort, work at a bit, but the day job pays the bills. Allows you to have nice clothes, a nice house, a nice car. Jim is like the side gig you're passionate about. He's like playing in a rock and roll band after work on the weekends. It's hot, fun, sweaty, exciting, stimulating, sexy, exhausting, and very, very satisfying. It's never going to pay the bills, but it's what you live for. You don't give up your day job for your side gig, but you want to keep your side gig. What an asshole. But what I tell you guys, they settle for the nice guy that can provide the house, the car, the clothes, all that. And then they want to be able to have the cake and eat it too with their side piece, hence the open relationship, open marriage. This is why you guys, as I say all the time, spend your high school years, college years, not many girls paying attention to you, but then you get the girl, they start doing that. It's because they're looking to settle for the nice guy. And they're never going to treat you the way they treat the guys they really want, so you must be careful. Right here. This is what they get out of the nice guys. Claire asked if I found out would she break it off with Jim. She laughed and said she'd convinced me that it was all over, but no, she keeps seeing Jim. Of course. She would just be even more careful. She gave me and her Cheshire Cat smile and said there was nothing wrong with a little fun and on the side as long as no one found out about it and caused problems. And Jim was no more than just a little fun. He was very adventurous in bed, willing to do whatever she wanted. I always had fun ideas about what she would do to him. There was nothing they wouldn't try. The SEX was too good to walk away from. Claire was right. This really hurt, but I wanted to know the truth about everything, so we kept talking. So guys, that is the end of today's episode. This is 30 fucking pages long. I'm not going to do this for a full hour. So I'm going to be doing the part 2 to this tomorrow. So tomorrow will be part 6. We're going to find out more details about this harpy and everything about her. And this, again, goes to show everything with her. Remember her promising him that she'll change and she'll love him forever and all this other bullshit? Right then and there, he found out that she was saying, hey, you know what? If I ever got caught, I would just tell him everything he wants to hear and I can't be his business as usual. End of story. She is an awful person, and I'm glad she's getting what she deserved. I'm glad she was literally kicked out by Bob once she went to stay with him, and that she's back with her parents and fucked up in therapy. The sad thing is this girl eventually will get over things, and there'll be some other poor victim out there. But hopefully, this is why I do the stories I do on this channel. More and more guys can hear about these things, and they can then hopefully not become like this guy taken advantage of. There's always going to be guys they're going to be taken advantage of and learn the hard way. But I hope I do my part to minimize that. So that's why it's so important you guys follow the channel, share with your friends, share with your family. Anybody would listen, spread the word, all the channels. Yes, it helps me, but also will help guys out there not to fall for this shit in the future. It just makes me sick. But anyhow, guys, thanks for sticking with me. This is a long-ass video. And the part 6 of this final update, because he says it's going to be a final update, but we all know, we've all heard that before. I'll wrap this up tomorrow, probably about 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and you'll enjoy the rest.